Hello, welcome to the School Safety Free Period podcast. I'm Amanda Klinger.
And I'm Dr. Amy Klinger.
And we are the Educators School Safety Network. We're a national nonprofit organization, and we provide school safety training and resources and technical assistance to schools throughout the United States and Canada. And one of the resources that we do is this podcast.
But now we're doing it live.
On the internet with video.
So all kinds of crazy stuff is guaranteed to happen.
A dog will bark.
My phone won't ring now because I did manage to silence it, but something will occur that will make you wonder what on earth. We should probably just film it like in the kitchen or something.
I will be unable to maintain a poker face, so when you read about the wild and too crazy to be true things that have happened in the world of school safety, I will go, ooh, and then probably giggle a lot. So to folks who are joining us here live on the live stream, please chat and introduce yourselves and shout out questions. And by shout out questions, I mean type them, because
you can shout them out. We just won't be able to
hear it. And for those of you who are listening at home, normally on the podcast, you can always reach us through social media. You can email us info@eschoolsafety.org. If you have a school safety story that is too wild to be true, but it's actually true, you can send it to us. So if this is your first time here for the free period, how it works. Typically, Dr. Klinger finds something in the news that is too absurd to be true, but it's true.
Well, maybe not absurd, but that there's a lesson to be learned.
They're usually pretty absurd.
And a little bit of a smirk to be had. So, yes.
and then we talk about it, and then we try to have a little bit of a school safety takeaway. So,
takeaways are important.
Let's begin.
But getting there is half the fun.
There you go.
Okay, so some of these are from a little bit before Christmas because we didn't really get in as much as we might have liked before Christmas. So we'll start in Michigan, where we have a university that has equipped faculty members with hockey pucks to throw at any potential active shooter on campus.
Wait, I'm sorry. I was reading a comment of one of the viewers.
See, now you're paying attention. Let me start over for those of you that weren't really paying attention.
Who also weren't paying attention.
A University of Michigan has equipped faculty members with hockey pucks.
Oh, a university in Michigan.
In Michigan. I'm not defaming anyone, please. To throw these hockey pucks at any potential active shooter on campus as a last resort. I mean, I guess we can
just get a big donation.
Okay, but
can you?
I guess you can figure the utility of how that works. Now, there's a couple of flaws of I'm not sure how you throw a hockey puck. Is it like a frisbee? I mean, it won't rotate like a ball. You can't do a curve.
Why would you do golf balls?
I would think there's some kind of
balls.
Throwing that doesn't work super well in that. I'm not sure where you're supposed to store the hockey pucks, if you're supposed to on your person, whatever. But anyways, they have spent $2,500 on the first batch of these pucks. They cost 97 cents to make. But they will be printed with the union. This is the faculty union. They will be printed with the union logo and distributed at no charge.
Is it marketing?
So when
hit you with a hockey puck,
you get hit with the hockey puck.
Join the union. Hey, look, I've joined the union.
Currently 800 faculty members have them, and there's another 1,700 on the way, in case you didn't get your hockey puck yet.
How many members of the faculty do people get? Is it like a 6-shooter of hockey pucks? I have 6.
So the individual that came up with the idea said the idea came to him during a training session when he remembered being hit in the head with a puck as a youth hockey coach. The puck caused a fair amount of damage to me. And then this is his quote: "It was not a well thought out strategy.
I would agree.
It was a spur of the moment thing that had merit to it and kind of caught on." So, again, no, I love that people are creative. I love that people are trying to do the right thing. I love all that particular aspect. But I did, and those of you that may follow me on Twitter, I did tweet about this a few weeks ago where I was like, yes, it is a not well thought out strategy. That is correct. There have been no studies or research on the use of hockey pucks as defense to an active shooter. This individual acknowledged.
No, there has not.
Now, anyone out there that has funding and would like to fund a study on the use of hockey pucks for self-defense?
If you have funding for research in the efficacy of interventions in active shooter response, I can think of a bunch of ideas.
A puck could be used with other defense mechanisms like chairs, staplers, or anything that has weight. Hopefully the pucks will, quote, empower faculty and students to have a plan, to have something to defend themselves rather than just freezing in place. So now that you've got all that out of you.
All my faces and heavy sighs. And
right. So now let's talk about the sentiment behind it. It is an admirable sentiment behind it that we want people to be able to defend themselves. I'll give you one last quote.
I like the sentiment of we want people to have thought of this.
The union is also hoping to fundraise enough money for interior door locks to be added to the classrooms. As far as the hockey pucks are concerned, I expect eventually we'll run out of money to give them to people. Maybe students will buy their own. I guess it's going to be a lab fee. It's just the idea of having something, a reminder that you are not powerless and you are not helpless in the classroom. Love the sentiment. I can give you a lot of other things that you could spend $2,500 and more on. We can talk about a lot of things that will give people that empowerment.
Right.
So the sentiment we can understand. It is the execution of what to do about that sentiment and that desire that I have an issue with.
And that is a really common problem in the work that we do, where people their heart is in the right place. The end point where they want to reach is the right goal, reducing violence in schools, improving school climate and culture, whatever the case may be. But it is a very typical problem where we think of, I have this problem with school safety. Well, let's try to fix it.
Yeah.
And without any consideration of what are the unintended consequences of the thing
I
that
can't
we're doing.
really do the math on the 94 cents a piece times however many hockey pucks, but we're going to ballpark it. I mean, I taught English, not math. So we're going to ballpark it at $3,000. For $3,000, we could train the entire faculty of any institution in a comprehensive all hazards response to not just active shooter, but much more likely events, medical emergencies, violent intruders, severe weather events, community-based disasters, all kinds of things. So if we're talking about bang for your buck or bang for your puck.
Oh, this was a setup? This is 5 minutes of a setup to get to that pun?
I actually just thought of that, which is even more impressive that I just came up with that.
This is my, those of you who are watching and not listening, I'm making a real skeptical face.
I can hear everyone rolling their eyes at the same moment. But I really did just make that up, which is why it's such a bad pun. But if you want to talk about bang for your buck, there's a lot of things that we could spend $3,000 on that would achieve the sentiments involved here without the somewhat ridiculous notion of how practical this really is and how it's really going to help.
And the other thing to consider, even when we have things that are well-intentioned and poorly executed or a poor path chosen to get there, that is still only a single problem solution. Even if they were doing something that was maybe more effective or more impactful, they are still only addressing the issue of active shooter response. And at that university...
Or hockey. Classroom hockey.
Yeah.
If we were doing a classroom hockey sort of situation, ready for that too. But yes, from a safety perspective.
How many hockey pucks do you think you need in a normal hockey game?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Not everyone needs to have their own puck.
Just typically the one.
I
wonder if this is like one of those things where they'll do those videos where they'll take a golden retriever and then they have a bucket of like 500 tennis balls and they dump it and the dog is like 500 tennis balls. Did someone donate like 2,500 hockey pucks? And they were like,
no, we bought them. We told you. And again, this is not to knock the individual who has a good sentiment. So, and let me just close this one out. There was also a Pennsylvania school district that purchased miniature baseball bats to use as a last resort. So if baseball is more your game,
mini baseball bats.
Miniature baseball bats.
So we're fighting a person with a firearm with a close proximity combat. We even brought even closer.
Okay, so now my next story is not funny, really.
Oh, good.
It shouldn't.
Glad we're doing it in the free period.
Shouldn't be funny, but there's a part of it that is kind of funny. So this occurred again in December. Why all these things were going crazy in December?
Wilding in December.
This particular person, it was a woman who was arrested in connection to an incident at a school. The school administrators reported a woman lying on the ground along an exterior wall of the school property with 2 large samurai swords and knives.
when we do it on the live stream, you have to pick ones that I can vaguely keep a straight face.
And I
have a legitimate question. Aren't like samurai swords kind of expensive? Like, aren't they legitimate antiques? Like, who has the means to have?
Well, it doesn't mean it was an authentic samurai sword. It could have been
style sword.
But no, it said 2 large samurai swords and knives. And so while you're sitting here laughing, the rest of our viewers are going, "Yikes, that's dangerous." It is.
Well, I concur. It is dangerous,
but it's also the confluence of lying behind the wall with your samurai swords and so there was clearly something happening here.
Was this person a Ninja Turtle? Because Leonardo had 2 samurai swords.
No, I think
my favorite Ninja Turtle.
I think this person had some issues. Yes. But yeah, so and she did not, and because she didn't have any legitimate business on campus, she was arrested and booked for bringing weapons onto a school ground. I have no problem with that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Do you know a takeaway here?
Well, the takeaway.
Your samurai swords at home.
The takeaway is if you have radios in your schools that the administrators carry and other people carry, this is why you carry them. Because if you're texting, there's a lady with samurai swords, you're going to have a heck of a time with autocorrect. It's going to keep going something else, something else, something else.
Or the people on the other end are going to go,
and you're going to miss the opportunity to hear the person on the other end go, "I'm sorry, it sounded like you said samurai sword." And then you go, "Yeah, that's what I said." So
now, since you opened that door,
there isn't a takeaway.
Since you opened that door, I do have a takeaway, which is this is something that we encounter very commonly. We were actually just out on site doing a vulnerability assessment for a school where this was the case, where we sort of started a number of years ago where we had an official policy. This is the way that we communicate. We have radios, we have landlines in the classroom, we have email, we have radios. This is a way that we communicate. We have a policy, we speak to it, we've talked about it, we have a plan. And then with the, ubiquity of cell phones, everyone has a cell phone, and cell service is possible in most of the schools most of the time, that we have sort of very nonchalantly, not on purpose, not strategically moved to...
Gravitated.
Everybody calls on their cell phone. Well, we still have a policy that says we use our radios, but the radios are all sitting in their cradles and everybody's on their cell phone. And I get why it happens, because I'm carrying my cell phone on me anyway, and so why not do that? But there is a part of me, the obnoxious attorney part of me, that I try to keep in a cage that says, you are going to have a serious problem the day when my personal cell phone, the battery dies, and that has become the de facto methodology of communication. Yeah. If I need a piece of equipment to communicate as a part of my job function, then you better provide me the equipment that I need to do that. See, you said it was going to ring, and there goes.
But now I don't know how to make it stop. There you go.
Just smash it.
So my phone is silenced, but not my Apple Watch. Technology in action.
But we need to figure out what that is, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't use cell phones, because there's a lot of times that maybe cell phones do make the most sense, but we got to figure out what that is, and we need to see, is there a discrepancy between what we say is our policy and what happens in the real world, and do we have redundancy built into those, and are we asking people to do a core job function with their own personal equipment? And if that's the case, then we can't gripe when their equipment doesn't function because it's their personal cell phone. So
now,
samurai swords notwithstanding, that's a concern.
Yeah, I'll take the opposite tact of that from an administrative viewpoint. People don't believe you when you say stuff like this happens.
The samurai swords?
This, or pick something else. I mean, I could recount a number of instances in my own professional career where you go, I can't make this stuff up. Yeah. I mean, it's sort of like if you talk to ER nurses, I'm sure they have some of the same sort of things. So I guess my takeaway from this is, don't believe that you will never have something crazy like that. Oh, well, it's always this very traditional, straight up. Nope. You could have samurai swords show up just as well. And it is still an issue. It still needs to be dealt with. It's still a safety concern. It's a little bit mind-boggling, but it's still there.
I have to admit, was this during the school day?
Yeah.
Okay, so there is potentially the cost to kids who were like, there's a lady with samurai swords. You're
laying behind the wall.
Some kids might find that to be funny. That would have been me in school. But there would kids who would have been upset and traumatized by that. And, that even though no one was injured, thankfully, that's wonderful, there's still a cost. it was still an incident that happened, and it still requires a response.
Yep.
Yikes.
Okay.
Okay.
So now the last one that I want to do.
I liked it.
Well, we may have time for the other one, but this is the one that I'm intending on being the last one. Is not really funny, other than the headline of third grade knife fight. That part of it is kind of funny. But in this particular case, again, this one is problematic. We have a third grade girl who pulled a pocket knife on another third grader and threatened to kill her. I mean, so your first, or maybe not most people. My first grade thing is you think of like my first awful, not appropriate thought is like, that scene in Beat It where they like tie the two and they're gonna, or that you have like the Sharks and the Jets in third grade. And those of you that are out there in third grade are going, yes, this could have absolutely happened. But
the kid really had a knife.
Yeah, but the reason that I brought this one in here is I think it's important to start with our ridiculous smug face of third grade knife fight. It's so funny and blah, blah, blah. And then talk about what really happened. So I'm not trying to bring us down and end on a down note, but I think it's important to talk about that. So we have a third grade girl that pulls a pocket knife on another third grader, threatens to kill her. The weapon is confiscated by the staff. And then another student chokes the girl who told for snitching. So this girl has had a knife pulled on her, and she's been choked.
It's like a third grade or like a cell block C. Holy cow.
And that's, again, the point is, so now word spreads, and now you have lots of concerns of parents saying, this kid needs to not be here. This kid's a third grader. Yes. And so parents are demanding answers of what happened and who was it and how can we ensure that this doesn't happen again. But on the other hand, we're not going to kick this kid out in third grade. And we can't just discipline. We also have to work on appropriate supports and interventions and so on. And so the principal is caught in this sort of idea of people demanding answers, wanting policies, or wanting to know what happened, what did you do, and so on. But yet we have to protect the confidentiality of these students. And so it's really, and then in this whole thing, it starts out, of course, with some bullying, and then when you really start pulling back the layers of the onion, it appears that there were more issues of where perhaps the school didn't intervene as aggressively as they could have sooner. And so, the verbiage was, I'm going to kill you. And then the kid that choked her said, that's what you get for snitching. So it was very specific. Probably my biggest issue with this whole thing is the parents of that child were never notified of the incident. They had to find out about it from someone else. So that so now we go, well, we can't really disclose details and we can't really, your child was victimized. You need to be aware of that. Yeah. And so that's that push-pull that's really, I think, at the heart of some of these things, especially when we get into the younger grades, although it's an issue all over the place. So the response on the part of the school was that they're going to increase the supervision of students in the classroom and by adding 3 additional recess monitors. And they are asking the parents to look at the handbook, which outlines the district policies on the handling of those incidents, et cetera, and that she sees the discipline as a learning opportunity. Got all that. Yep. Agree with all of it. We still got to circle back to the fact that how come why were those parents not notified? And we took what could have been a learning opportunity for everyone involved and turned it into a controversy.
Yeah.
So... Yep. So then the final sort of piece of that is the parents demanded that their child be separated from the other kids that perpetrated this. And the size of the school doesn't allow for that. So now we're in a situation where there's only 2 classes and they have to be on the playground at the same time. They have to be on the lunchroom at the same time, et cetera. So that's really sort of you have that kind of ripple sort of effect. So, yeah.
I don't know why you have that in the free period, because that's not funny.
No, it's not. But it did strike me as funny when the third grade knife fight. Do you want me to do my last one, which isn't super funny either, but I think it's very interesting based on what we talked about in the school safety news?
No,
this one I can do fast. So police want to arrest a couple of kids for crimes that were committed off campus, have nothing to do with the school.
Okay.
So they get an idea and go, hey, how'd you like to have a safety drill? And then we'll be able to sneak in and arrest these kids. So the principal goes, sure, we like to work with law enforcement. And so parents and students didn't know anything about it. They have this drill. They go in, they arrest these kids in the classroom and haul them out for crimes that were committed off campus. They had not done any crimes on campus or posed any threat. And so I guess, you have to kind of think of like, people going, this is a really realistic safety drill. It looks like they're handcuffing. And, and so there's some concerns about that. I'm sure as an attorney you have some concerns too.
I understand that it's, that the principal wants to be compliant and to be helpful to law enforcement. But since when is that the job of the school to set up a good opportunity for you
like
to be able to arrest the kid? Yeah.
We have that in the cafeteria. We set out the chocolate milk and see if anyone will bite. Oh, and I think probably the larger concern that I have with it is the function of school safety drills is not to provide cover for covert operations. I mean, we don't have a school safety drill so that we can sneak into the cafeteria and eat the ice cream, or have a school safety drill so that we can look at the answers of the algebra test. I mean, we have a school safety drill because it's if done correctly, which see our last podcast, but if done correctly is an important learning opportunity for kids. Yeah. But I just had this image of, you have the safety drill and all of a sudden we're hauling kids out in cuffs and people are like, wow, they take these safety drills really seriously or something. So yes. That one was kind of an interesting notion too. And it just kind of speaks to that idea of, in the school safety free period, we laugh about these and we make fun of them. And it's not because we're trying to pick on any particular state or school or anything, but it really just sort of illustrates that fine line between something that is a school safety issue and something that's just really absurd, and how those things kind of, it's a pretty fine line. And we find people find themselves straying over that line with maybe very good intent. That principal may have thought, oh, that's a good idea to help out law enforcement. It won't disrupt the school day and so on. But if we had gone just a bit further, it would be, is there another means we could have accomplished this? So there you go. Okay. And if you don't think that one's funny enough, bring one yourself next time. It wasn't
that funny. You had a couple downer ones here in the free period, I think.
Well, it is kind of a downer sort of situation.
Yeah, broadly speaking.
If you really want to see the best one, go back and look at our podcast with the running club. Remember the running club?
There's all some funny stuff. I mean, it is what it is.
But it is interesting. We hesitated to do a lot of these, the free period, in the wake of Parkland, because that really was such a significant event that really altered the conversation of what you could clearly see as being sort of ridiculous and funny. The situation we talked about in the other one where the teacher said he was going to shoot the student if he didn't pay attention, or whatever ridiculous statement that was made, that, a year ago we would have been chuckling about. And now we look at that and go, who thinks that those statements are a good idea? So it really has really changed. It's really altered that dynamic again. And the question is, how long till we become complacent?
Yeah. Well, I would ask our viewers and our listeners to maybe help us out with less of the serious Debbie Downer ones, and send us some ones that are really, truly very funny. And then we can sort of have the challenge of drawing some substantive takeaways, some substantive school safety takeaways, and things that are truly just completely ridiculous and absurd. So I would ask that. You can email us if you have any suggestions or things on that to info@eschoolsafety.org. You can also reach out to us on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook. If you were not joining us here on the live stream and you're listening to this on the podcast, you can get this and our other podcasts wherever you get your podcasts, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher. You can also listen to all the podcasts directly on our website, which is www.eschoolsafety.org. When you're there, you can also check out the other free resources that we have available. We have tons of resources. Many of them are completely free. And you can always reach out to us if you have questions or things that we can help you with. So if you don't have anything else,
thanks for being live with us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We hope to do this more, and we'll probably try to figure out a regular schedule that we can do this.
And I'll figure out how to silence my phone and my watch.
You'll figure out how to silence your phone. I'll try and figure out how to stop smirking so much, and we'll try.
Maybe you could wear a mask, just like
Phantom.
No, just like this much, and then if your eyes don't laugh, you wouldn't be able to tell.
If I don't laugh with my eyes, then it would be fine.
We'll figure that out.
We'll figure it out. So thanks for joining us, and we'll be back all with you again soon.
Bye.